Welcome to this episode of Mindful Leadership Podcast. We are recording this on a historic day, 250 years of American independence. And who am I sharing this afternoon with? My dear friend Mudita Nigam. Mudita Nigam is a technology and engineering leader at Amazon. She leads teams of teams. You're also the person who builds trust in the age of AI. You're also a fellow traveler who has crossed 7 seas from India to make a life here. Welcome, Mudita.
Thank you so much, Anu. I'm delighted to be here today with you.
Yeah, and spending this day with me.
Yes.
I really love and appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's the right day for this kind of, the podcast. And you are all red, blue, and white.
Well, this is something I didn't notice. That's great. My first question is freedom. I know this. I know you very well. It's not a word or wall for you. It has a special meaning. So as you sit with me today, what do you hold as for freedom?
So I think freedom for me is not just a word. It definitely just started when I was born, but it starts for anyone when they are born. And the definition or the meaning of freedom changes with life. What freedom means at each stage of life, or where we are, what we are doing. Right now, it is, can I express myself freely? Can I think freely? Can I do something bigger without thinking about all of the restraints around me? So that is freedom for me right now. And as I said, this started when I was born, so I can probably share a little story.
I'd love to hear.
So when I was born in India in a very small town, which was sandwiched between two big cities in India. And as a girl child, girls were not celebrated as much at that time when I was born. So when the doctors handed me over to my dad, they were like, okay, yeah, it's a girl that you have. And my dad on the other side was elated. I was their first child. And he was like, it is the most or the biggest blessing for me right now. He distributed sweets all over the hospital. And it was very new for the people to kind of receive sweets on a girl child being born. I think that is where the freedom started for me. And I have a younger brother. While getting raised, again, I think in the spirit of my parents trying to treat both of us equally, they treated me a little more or gave me a little better opportunities and stuff than my brother. I think that is how they were trying to bridge that gap as per or with the means that they had. I think that is what has got me here. Those values that kept me grounded.
Yeah, and I see you have two beautiful daughters who are young, but who are, again, you bringing them up so beautifully, and they're confident girls who are very sure about themselves. And just kudos to you on how you're raising your two daughters as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think there's this song from Rihanna, which is called Lift Me Up, Hold Me Down. I think that's what probably me and my husband, we strive towards. Fly as high as you can, but still be, close to your roots. That's what can take you far in life.
Yeah. Yeah. I have another story which you told me, and I know I'll take you to, the journey we talked about. We'll be talking about is your career, you being a leader in such a large corporation, and what does it feel like, and how do you manage large teams. But before that, there's also another story about your childhood, and that's about your name itself. And somebody in the school asked you about your name. And would you like to share that story with the audience?
Yeah, we all have first names and last names in India refer to a group of, people doing a certain occupation or so. So the kids around me, they were asking each other, what is your subcaste? Mm-hmm. Now, that is something, and there was caste system prevalent at that time as well in India. I did not know my subcaste. So I went back home, I asked my dad, what is my subcaste? And he's like, why are you asking this question? I was like, my friends are asking. So he said, nothing. Your subcaste is human. You are just a human, human first. So I went the next day. I told my friends. Obviously, they mocked me for that. But there's this value that got rooted that I am a human first, and I think that's what I'm carrying forward. And we try to give it to our kids as well to carry forward with them.
So, is that one of the things that defines you as a leader?
That does, and especially in this age of AI, definitely, being human first, knowing the, humans around me, because leadership by its definition itself is, how you can guide and lead a group of people towards a shared goal. So we all are leaders because we have humans around us. So if we have, or at least as per my definition, a leader should have a good EQ. Empathetic leadership, as much as it is losing its value, I think it still holds true. As much as we could kind of be a human as a leader, I believe we could lead better teams.
I also think in terms of how I have seen you work with people and how I've seen you in action a lot. And humanity is, of course, one thing that comes out. But also, I've seen you really connecting, and which is probably part of the EQ, connecting at them and understanding what they want in the moment. And you manage that. We are part of we're part of a poetry group together. And you're able to manage them very savvily. So, talk to me about some of the qualities that you bring into play, whether it's at work, at home, that makes your leadership so strong.
I think I was always intrigued to psychology. I've never learned it, as such. But then always intrigued that if there are humans around, everyone will be different. Like our five fingers, they're all different. But together we can do wonders. I think that's what I strive for. Like how I can bring these people together towards one common objective, be it in our poetry circle, or at work. If our objective is common, then all of these five fingers have to contribute, almost equally towards that. And how can we, be motivated and keep others motivated? That involves knowing everyone I'm working with a little deeply than just the surface and, not just their numbers or performance. That helps me connect with them and then, lead or build teams that could move towards something.
And I know that you started your journey in Hyderabad, right? You were started working as a engineer in, computer science. First of all, my question is, why did you choose to become an engineer? And then the journey to Hyderabad. And so it's a three-part question, maybe, as I'm thinking through why computer science, then journey to Hyderabad, and then coming to US. So there were these three transition points.
Right. I think when I was in my high school, so again, that was also a smaller town that we were in. And when kids were deciding about higher education, and all of the girls were going into the schools or the colleges that were in the town, and there was no STEM institute in our town. So for engineering, I had to go out of my town, which was very new in my family or like in the extended family. No one has been out of their house, and especially being a girl. So, and even before that, I was very much interested into problem solving. Like when those older days tube lights were there, how to fix the starter, how to fix those things. I think my dad used to involve both me and my brother equally into solving things. I think there is where the interest for science started. Then I wanted to do something in computer science. And growing up, there were just two careers, which is being a doctor or an engineer. And I chose to be an engineer. I had to go out, and I think the family supported me going out of the hometown and doing an engineering degree. So that was how the engineering thing came into picture. But asking about Hyderabad and Seattle, I think between Hyderabad and Seattle, I was working at Hyderabad, and then I liked the leadership role, because when I was working, you can do as much, but you have to stop at a point, and then you need enablers around you. So the role of leadership I looked at as a role of an enabler. You need to voice for your people. So I asked for this role, I'll say. While I was leading this team, there was a pseudo leader who was there, in the sense that person was stuck in a different project, and we were always telling that this person will come and lead. And meanwhile, everything was going on smoothly. We were doing our diligence, we were building the stuff and all. 6 months into the role, I was like, when I am leading this team, why can't I lead it officially? I went to my manager and asked for it. And it was like a lightning moment. I was like, oh yeah, why do we need another person? They are not going to free for another year or so. So then they officially announced me as a leader and officially as a manager of the team. And I think that is where it all started. So one thing for all my fellow folks over there, ask what you need. Sometimes this just becomes a thing we think, especially being a woman, we think asking is not good. But
Yeah,
it's
your
good.
work should speak for yourself. And it's not always like that.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes you have to speak for your work.
That's
Instead
so
of
true.
work speaking for you, here's what I am doing, and here's the impact I'm making, and here are the results I got.
Correct.
So you went and did that, your own advocacy.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this is a skill, I'll say, again, I'm still learning, but it is so important. I've learned with time that you have to advocate for.
So from Hyderabad, then you moved to Seattle. A huge transition. We have made it. And I know how difficult it is. What was it for you?
Yes, it was a big transition because I was growing in my career over there. My husband got this opportunity to move here, and we decided to move as a family. It was new because new country, new cultures, I would say, and then new phase of my life. I was a new mom at that time, and everything new around me. So there was a time when I learned slowing down and fast pace at the same time, and deciding for myself what works when, because it is as many balls as you could juggle at a time. So juggling all of this together was not. So there was a time when I had to ask for working from home. It was in the era where work from home was not common or not heard of at all. It was pre-COVID times. So when I look back, there were three things that I think I have done and learned from. One is advocating for yourself, because it is super important. No one else is going to come and talk about yourself. And then knowing when to slow down and when to go fast. And the third thing is there are as many balls you can juggle at a time. So, thinking through all of these, what is more important at what time, these were some things that were helpful. Like when I was slowing down, got this work from home. That was a time when, I could spend a little bit time with the family or towards my newborn. But there was also time when the delivery is coming near and I had to kind of work through it all. And I was nursing my baby all through the, calls and the meetings going on. So it is that time that was super important. And then the trust of my leaders and me, the work that I did in Hyderabad was proving to be well over here, that they trusted that it is not the location that this person needs to be because this person can deliver. So I think all of this together was what informed my move and this smooth transition to this world.
Yeah, as you were saying this, the image that flashed in my mind was when you were born the first day and your father distributed sweets. Maybe that was working through, and that brought you to this point here when you were in a brand new country and you were not hesitant. You were able to go and advocate for yourself. You could also balance, because I remember working my ass off when I just first started working. I was just so scared to even take a day off. I would see that Friday afternoons, people in winters will go for skiing. The whole team will disappear. And who was the person who was sitting and still working? Will be Anu Arora in the office. They will find me. But you learned that and you had that confidence. And I was also imagining that you were able to see that these are crystal balls. They can't fall. If they break into 1,000 pieces, and then you'll be cleaning up long afterwards. But there were some rubber balls, they can bounce because they will bounce and they come back up. And then you can...
That's wonderful. I love this analogy. I'm going to take it in the next one.
Isn't it?
That's so true. Just knowing what are your crystal balls versus your rubber balls. And we sometimes give so much importance to the rubber balls, but they are going to come back.
But that differentiation didn't come for me, Mudita, for years.
Wow.
So you got it. So kudos on that defining your boundaries so early on in your career. And and that's what's probably brought you to where you are today, leading large teams, actually teams of teams. So you have multiple layers that are under you. So how do you reach these all these humans?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So here at Amazon also I've got an opportunity to lead leaders. Even when I was with Tata's, there was a huge team of 90 plus members that I was leading, which was globally located. Here as well, I think one thing that I've realized, and one single most important thing as per me, is when you have leaders under you and where the team is reporting to them, investing well and investing most of the time in those leaders is what can make or break your teams. Because if that person can do the job really well and you can impart some of your goodnesses and obviously learn from your leaders who report to you as well, that is something where the team then works in autonomous functions. They all work towards, a single or a common goal. That has worked really well for me, investing in that middle layer. And then also meeting people. I think once you have those human connects, so the teams are located outside Seattle, outside US as well. So traveling to people, meeting them, because meeting makes a huge difference because we're still working with humans. And when you get to know a little bit about them, about what their interests are, what they like doing, what they don't like doing, that automatically just builds that connect, that the trust is, two-way door. So I trust them and they trust me. That has built a culture, or that's a culture that I strive towards and building in my team, and then we all can together do wonders.
Yeah. You talk about trust, and in fact, your job definition is about trust. So, isn't it? You are. Tell me a little bit more about your work on how you're building trust for Amazon. What does it look like, and how does it translate into when trust is broken? What do you do then?
Yeah. So trust, as it is said, it is very hard to build, but very, very easy to break. And again, to rebuild it takes time.
Yeah.
So with the machines as well, the systems as well, we build the trust over time. But I think with humans, building trust is the foundation of everything. So we do have, I think everyone knows, Amazon has this leadership principle called earn trust. Which is so important when you look at it. It's very deep. That if I join a new team or I'm just here with a new set of people, the first thing they like working with me or not is the trust factor. And it is very, it's back of the mind. It's not like this is the first thing I'm going to do. But if you do that right, it's a very smooth conversation, because conversations are not always easy. Sometimes, so I'm asked to build something which my team doesn't have capacity for. So it's not about saying yes or no. It's about how I can convince the people around me in a more trusted way. So that trust, I think, is super important. And it is not automatic. I think the moment we take trust for granted, because it is not just built and left there, you have to put an effort to keep it there, to maintain that trust. And putting that effort is super important, I think, for me to just keep that momentum of trust going.
So in your world, we're also building trust with the machines, especially with AI, agentic AI.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this fear that one day the trust in AI would be much more than the trust in humans. So how do you balance that? Is that ever a question in your mind? AI is this side and humans are this side, and what does that trust look like? Will you trust the human more or the AI more? I know this is a hard question.
So hard question, but I can close my eyes and I can say I will trust the human more. So, and I'll tell you the reason why I'm saying so. It's past 2 years that my core work has been in and around AI when this all started, and Gen AI gained momentum. I'm specifically talking about Gen AI when it gained momentum, and then I have seen it does phenomenal when it is a repetitive task or an SOP based task. It is you can trust it so well. But when there's this nuance which comes there, where there's judgment calls, it does good at sometimes there as well. But the human judgment is way beyond that. That's why a brain till now has never been replicated in science, right? Because the brain thinks so much on the experiences that they have had, that still if I give the problem to a human, a new problem which no one has seen, I'm pretty sure they will be able to solve that better. So I think that is a sweet spot if we find the problems that AI can solve for us or can expedite versus where this problem solving is needed, where a human intelligence is needed even today. So if we are able to solve that, I don't think there's fear of, losing ourselves as much over there. But we have to make sure we are not depending too much on the AI because this brain or the intelligence is still needed.
Yeah. I love your approach and your thoughts around it, but I hear a lot. There's fear in the industry, the questions in the industry. Will I become redundant? Will they need me if only 5% of the time I am needed and 95% of the time AI could do it? Then what happens to my job? How do you see that shift that is coming in and the fear which is seeping in? I see a lot of fear with even new graduates who did computer science and they're coming out today.
That is true. And this fear is also true because, with this thing where everyone's just running towards AI, we sometimes forget that there are humans around us who will have these feelings. 95% of times, yes, the machines can make it faster, can make it easier. But, there are so many problems to solve. So if we don't cap that, okay, our organization or we as humans have to do just this much, there's a ceiling over there. There's just no ceiling. If you break that, there's so much to solve that right now you cannot just put an AI and just say, hey, go solve world hunger. It's not there yet. So if we can kind of, again, give those monotonous tasks to AI or less judgmental tasks, and then we can build like what else we can do over here. There is still a lot to do. And there is where I think humans can, excel. But this fear thing, and when the new graduates are coming, I think industry as a whole is still trying to solve this problem. It is not solved on where they need human and where they need machines. So until they are solving it, I think there will be a period of struggle. I would not want to, negate this thought completely. There will be a period of struggle, but humans would still be needed, I feel.
Yay! I love that because I'd hate to think that our grandchildren who are coming into this world. I'm going to be a grandmother soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And with the grandchild coming in, I think of her future, and I think of what's the world she's going to be born in, and I hope to be able to tell her, see your humanity, your presence, your love is going to outshine anything any machine can do. So this is what I want to believe in, and this is what I want to go and tell her as she's growing up. But I also wonder what her world will be like, and I know it's going to be way, way different from the world I was brought up in so many eons of years ago.
No, that is so true. And if you think about the time when, computers were evolving or when internet was evolving, then also it was the same thing that maybe it will replace humans.
Yeah.
Computers are new, all the stuff it will do, but it didn't. And I believe the same will be, happening even further. Yes, we have evolved so much in terms of technology, but there is still a lot that we could do. So when and the same fear that you have with your granddaughter, I have with my daughters, we do think about that. How do we want to raise them? How do we want to build them? And I think one thing, the human connections are so important. Like you have witnessed some of it when we are stressed at work. And there are multiple times that it comes, when I was, going through the lows of work and you were one of those people that I come to talk. So these are the things that if we don't build these relationships, I think all of this machine and technology is waste because you need people who know you beyond what you are at work. And once you know that, and sometimes you know it yourself, but you cannot tell yourself. You need other people. You need your village. You need your network to tell you that you are way beyond this particular job that you're doing. Once you again hear it from others who think well about you, you can excel in those fields and you can, deal with that trauma or the downs or the lows of work or life as such when you have this network. This is what I would want to impart to the kids as well. Recently, we watched the movie Toy Story 5. We thought first it's about screens, like don't be with screens or technology. No, it was at the end about human interactions. that you should not lose those human interactions and, playing with each other, connecting with each other and just be in front of the screens. I think technology is good, just in moderation of everything.
I love that. And I want to watch that movie, Toy Story 5.
Worth watching.
We want to move to the very last phase of our interview. And I want to talk about, because this is Mindful Leadership podcast. Your work is really fast paced. The whole world knows it.
Mhm.
Working in Amazon means you are working at a supersonic speed. How do you bring sanity in madness?
That's so sanity in madness. I like that. And it is true. And when I think about myself or do some retrospective, I also thrive in this fast-paced environment. But then it is not always feasible or possible that you can be continuously fast-paced because you will burn out. There have been times, episodes of burnouts as well. I think the grounding forces are basically my family, husband, my kids, friends, you all. I think making a point that I have to, meet my friends or be with them and then, remind each other who we are. We are bigger than our jobs. We are important for ourselves and our family because we are replaceable at our jobs, but not in our home, not in our family. So I think that is what just keeping or reminding myself of that. And also, I'm this place, Seattle, which is so much of nature around me, just being in nature around. And I have a goal to hike more. So, just probably doing something else which is apart from work. That is what brings sanity or keeps me sane.
And you have so many hobbies too. You write poetry, you dance, your family is a musical family. They're, singers and poets and artists and creators, the whole family, your parents also. So I think there's just so much fun and joy to just be with you. But when I come and meet you, you could be working anywhere in the world. I would not guess you working in such a pressure cooker, high pressure environment
Yeah.
because you're just so much fun to be with.
That is true. And see, that's why you need friends to remind you of your powers as well or your things. So you're right. I love dancing and this poetry that, the way how we both met. It is so, I think, energizing is one to say. And then, yeah, my husband and my kids sing. And sometimes just that atmosphere where everyone's just singing and, I'm enjoying them sing. That brings calmness.
Whenever
To
I
the
go
game.
to your house, it's almost like there is some kind of mahfil, a jashan going on. That is the jashan means just celebration. And life seems like huge celebration for your family. And I think that's probably bringing you a lot of groundedness.
That does. And I find myself when I'm, very stressed out, then I ask my kids to sing. And maybe, this unknowingly I'm doing that. And then it just brings calmness or, that moment of celebration that there's so much in this that we could celebrate about.
And your exuberance, your joy, I think those are innate qualities in you. You easily laugh. Not many people do that anymore. Isn't
Good
it?
to know.
You'd be wondering, why is this person not even smiling? What's wrong with them? So how do you bring that exuberance and joy to your teams?
To the teams, that's important. So when we get into this day-to-day chaos, obviously there's no laughter or fun, but then we have to step back. These, team lunches or just team bonding activities are very good, fun activities. And at times, obviously, we have to be frugal as well. So recently, we found a way. It has been, I think, 6 months now that I've asked the teams to one day in a month, we do a game evening, which is like, 3 to 5. We've vlogged. We play games, board games, which is so refreshing. It is even better than any team lunch that we go for. People who have to leave early also, they stay for this entire duration just to witness. So we play at times Pictionary or Dumb Charades. So recently, we've got into this werewolf. And everyone is so excited. They're looking forward to that day where we have to play the games. And then they come even energized the next day. So, that's one thing I think, is keeping that on purpose because it's very easy. That's the first thing you forget when you get into work.
I love it. I love it. And I can feel your energy also at this moment. There's just joy in describing what you are describing. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. What is it you'd want to leave our viewers with?
So I would want to say, like, first thing is be you, find your strengths. You do not have any other competition in the world than yourself. This is something we both teach our kids very regularly. You do not have to compete with anyone else. You just have to be the best version of yourself. Keep yourself sane. Your job doesn't define you. Every persona that you play, your motherhood doesn't define you. Being a wife, being a daughter, these all do not define you. You are much more than that. And you're all of it together. You can do it all. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for again spending the Freedom Day with somebody who loves freedom. And I know you love freedom, and to us and to all of you. Thank you for joining us.